Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, as a CPA who's represented many taxpayers in the last 3 decades, I am really appalled. I'm really appalled that the agency was able to take these actions. Mr. George, you made a comment. You said that these actions, even though they were contrary to the Treasury policy at the IRS, it was not illegal but inappropriate. Mr. Miller, if a taxpayer was in front of your agency and they did something that was contrary to Treasury policy, would that be illegal or inappropriate?
If they did something contrary, no. It would
Treasury policy on their tax return?
No, we would be auditing them.
I know you'd be auditing them, but I've seen your agency bring people to tears because you say it's inappropriate. It's just amazing the way you're answering some of these questions. You know, you answered a question, Mr. Roscom, you said, I don't know. If an American taxpayer said to you in an audit, I don't know the answer, what would your agency do to that person?
We would work with them.
I've seen what you've done to them when they say they don't know. That's the problem. That's what the problem here is. Mr. Miller, you talked about you were out, you know, at some point in time, you said these were serious infractions. You said you were outraged. When did that become, when were you outraged? When did you first learn of this, and when did you become outraged?
May 3rd of 2012.
So May 3rd of 2012, you became outraged. When you testified in front of this committee on July of 2012, why weren't you outraged then?
I was answering the questions that I was asked, sir, and I knew that TIGTA had this under its viewing, and that this was going to come out.
But you were outraged a couple months before. You didn't let Congress know of your outrage at that point in time.
At that point in time, I fixed the problem.
You fixed the problem. Mr. Chairman, I want to offer in the record a statement from one of my constituents, the Ohio Christian Alliance.
Without objection.
The Ohio Christian Alliance is one of those organizations. Now, they were applying for a C3, an educational trust. They were there. They were advocating life, faith, and freedom. Is there anything? What was the IRS concerned about? What were they scared about when it comes to life, faith, and freedom?
Sir, I can't speak to an individual case. I have no knowledge of that.
I'm just using an example. Life, faith, and freedom, that's something that the IRS would pull an application for, and actually it took over 13 months. The timeline on this, they filed in February of 2011. In March, they were told they'd have an answer in 90 days. In December, they got a letter that said they had 2 weeks to respond or their application would be denied, and then they responded. By the way, some of the questions, you know, you talked about what are some of the questions. I mean, they list here, is your organization or were the actions of the organization against anti-Christian bigotry more accurately classified as education in nature if the organization is engaged in such activity? I mean, are some of those questions appropriate?
Don't know, because it's a specific case, but I will say one of our difficult areas is determining what's politics and what's education. It's a very difficult line.
Well, I don't think anything in this application leaned toward politics. It leaned toward, as I said, life, faith, and freedom. Mr. Miller, I understand that after the presidential election, the IRS approved dozens of applications from conservative groups. Why was there such a large approval after the election?
I don't have that information. My information is that in May, I asked that the cases be grouped in a fashion that we move them quickly through and tried to fix the process problems we had. There were a number of applications from Tea Parties and others that were approved at that time, and we pushed hard.
Was there a process changed post-election?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.